Welcome everyone to the playoff pod. It's definitely rolling because when the red light turns on, it just starts. Even though it says like recording is going to start in 3 seconds, and we look really stupid because we just sit there and wait for the countdown. But welcome everyone. We are back. Jake is done being mad at me, so he's finally talking to me again, so we can do the pod because that's clearly why we didn't have it for the last few weeks. Also, Mitch didn't ask for it. Mitch asked for it this week, and of course, we like to do things when Mitch asks for it. So today, going through the playoff matchups, neither one of us are there, so I don't know why you guys listen to this podcast because we are not good at fantasy football. We have shown that year after year. I think in total, you've made the playoffs once, right?
I made the playoffs once.
Same. Okay, so we both made the playoffs once. I lost to Trevor the first round. Oh, you know what? I may have actually made it twice. Is this year 4? Yes. So I made it twice. I lied. Okay. I forgot this was year 4. That's crazy. Well, welcome to the year 4 playoffs, boys. That's kind of crazy that this was like a whim that I had while playing NCAA 14 during COVID, while sitting in this chair, actually. But anyway, so we're going to start by doing the draft order of how it stands currently. The only thing that'll change in this order is whoever wins the championship bumps down to 12. Everything else, it is what it is. The top 6 are set. Everybody else is set other than one person is going to bump down unless Sean wins the championship because he's currently last. So going through it here, draft order is pretty simple. First pick is our boy Danny, who gets to possibly have the best QB room in the world next year with Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams.
Yeah, good job, Danny. Another year, no points scored. I don't know. I'd like to say I feel like Danny had more picks. I guess he traded them all for Mahomes, so
Yeah.
he just has to kind of work around that at this point. I mean, I don't know. He's got a ton of young receivers. I imagine if I was him, and my advice is pretty bad, I would try to be active trying to trade those young receivers. Just it almost feels like he's oversaturated the market on young receivers, and it's just like none of them are like I have to start them every week. Maybe Devonta Smith, but the rest of them is like, and it's just hard decisions too.
He needs some running back help, but Bryce Young is a little bit of a disappointment. I don't know why no one didn't listen to my draft predictions and told everyone that CJ Stroud was the guy. And all you people laughed at me. I'm just saying. CJ Stroud, maybe. Man. Anyway, I still have faith in Bryce Young to be a pretty decent quarterback. I think he needs a lot of help in Carolina right now. Carolina's a really bad situation. But getting Caleb Williams in there, Smith-Njigba was like the pick to make where Danny picked him last year, and it didn't super pan out. Pickens looks really disappointing in Pittsburgh, but so does everyone in Pittsburgh. So yeah, Danny has some things he needs to figure out. He needs to figure out running back real bad. But first pick, Caleb Williams. I'll be pretty shocked if that's not the case. I know there's always been some thought that like he'll go somewhere else, but that dude is special. So good job, Danny. You scored 1,280 points this year, or those are your potential points. Sorry. Moving on to pick number 2, we have our boy Lemon Chop. So Lemon gets the wide receiver of the future, probably. Gotta assume he goes. Although there's like rumor that Harrison's NIL deal is going to be the same as his rookie deal, so he maybe stays another year. But who knows? Lamon in full rebuild mode. He made some pretty decent trades, but this is his pick. He scored potential points of 1302. He needs help, but he needs QB help unless Zach Wilson becomes a real starter.
Hey, Bailey Zappi. He's out here putting
Okay.
up 22 fantasy points.
Sure. Oh, there's also a rumor Belichick's gone next year, so they'll get a real like QB in there because we're not going to pretend that the Patriot way works anymore. So who knows what happens there? But it looks like he gets Marvin Harrison. He cleans up some other things. He's got some more picks coming along. But yeah, Lyman, the rebuild starts nicely with a wide receiver that more than likely a wide receiver that will start every day from day one for you because that dude looks phenomenal. Um, anyway, moving on to pick number 3, we have Trevor, who does not have his pick. Thankfully, I made a good trade, and I have the 3rd pick this year. I am in desperate need of QB help, so one of those QBs, theoretically Drake May, comes my way in a few months, and that's lovely. I don't know if you have anything more on where I'm sitting at that point.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I feel like you probably thought this pick might be higher, but I feel like Lemon and Danny just really went for it. And it's always tough to figure out where someone's pick's going to be because they don't have their own pick. They're just less likely to do anything too crazy. And so, but I mean, three's a nice pick. I think you have multiple options. I mean, I'm not going to go into who I like there, who I don't, but there's multiple QB options. I think there's some receiver options if you wanted to go that way. I mean, I feel like you kind of made your own QB problem, so I don't feel that bad for you, but you also have a ton of picks, so you can trade for one.
I made my own QB problem because too much faith in my running backs to like be good, and that just didn't really happen this year. So yeah, anyway, I feel like okay wide receiver with Jefferson and Moore. Trevor is going to be QB1. We'll see what happens with Kirk Cousins on the comeback because I forget I have him because I traded for him at some point. Man, if we went back and looked at every trade I've ever made, the only person I think on my team from day one is Justin Jefferson.
I got some guys. I guess not Pitts. I guess I got CD. That's it.
I guess that's probably not
just because he's untradeable.
Yeah, I guess because that's like not super uncommon. It feels like I make so many trades that I don't need to make just because this league is fun. Anyway, moving on to the 4th pick. This is where I immediately screw up. So 4th pick would have been mine, but I do not possess my own pick, and Tommy Boy swindled me at some point for my pick. I have no idea when, but good job, Tom, sitting at 4. Big chance to keep improving. Just so everyone is actually aware, if Tom made the playoffs, this pick was number 9. No, I'm sorry, because this is my pick. Never mind. Tom's pick is number 9. Would have been number 9 if Tom made the playoffs. So for all those doubters of Tom's team before the season started, haha. Now I know Tom made some pretty decent trades throughout the year. He got a little older, but he can get a real piece here at 4. Moving on, we have your pick. You're sitting at 5 with your own pick, which is lovely. I didn't know you had any of your own picks still. I thought your picks were all gone.
That was the Pickens trade. I traded to get my pick back before the year. Gotcha. So good on me.
Yeah, that looks like it worked out. You know, your team is still really interesting. You're another guy that should have pretty much been in the playoffs this year, but I guess bad management from you and Tommy Boy because you guys outscored Mitch, Taint, and Biondi in possible points, but didn't play the right guy.
I outscored all of them in real points. I just didn't make the playoffs.
That might be fair. I didn't look at real points. Real points don't matter for draft. Yeah, I mean, you've got some decent QB options. Interesting to see what Kyler comes back as. You know, Fields looks like the guy. Your running back room has always been kind of your strength. Is a little more questionable, I'd say. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb kind of came into his own a little bit more. Not that it's a bad running back room at all. I feel like going into this year or maybe going into last year when it was Taylor, Barkley, Swift, like it looked like you were pretty unbeatable there. And, Pitts.
But yeah. Mark Andrews, though.
I forgot you have Mark Andrews. And Waller. So you'll have 3 tight ends that play a total of 9 games next year.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, so you're sitting there at 5. 6, we have Tom, who I have this pick. Tom and I swapped picks at some point, so he bumped up 2 pretty big spots. Where he went through me. This is some of my draft capital that I had and probably didn't need, but here I am anyway, and now I desperately need it. And moving on. So that's that is absolutely set in stone. Those first 6 picks: Danny, Lemon, me, Tom, Jake, me. Is how those 6 picks work out. Now we're in the playoff teams. Like I said before, these picks are set. Unless you win the championship, you bump down to 12. Everyone else that's below you bumps up a spot. At 7, we have Mitch, but Mitch's pick belongs to Lemon, part of his draft capital. We've already talked about Lemon. Mitch, to be mean to Lemon, should win the championship, so he bumps down 5 picks because that'll be fun. Next, we have Taint, who's sitting at 8, but I have Taint's pick, so that leaves me at 3, 6, and 8. Which is kind of cool. So Taint, don't win the championship because I don't need you to bump down any spots. We've talked about me, so not important. Here comes Beyondy's pick, which belongs to Cam, sitting at 9. Jake and I have already had a good laugh at Cam's expense because he thought this was the 7th pick. Not too sure what Cam was looking at there, but sorry, buddy, you're down at 9. And Jake laughed really hard at you, so you should get mad at him. 10, we have Cam's pick. This one belongs to Trevor. So Trevor in this draft went down from 3 to 10 with his trading. Don't worry, he also has Sean's pick. So Trevor could end up with 10 and 12. And if Cam wins the championship, he could end up with 11 and 12. So good end of the draft for Trevor. And then 11 is Trent, and Lamon owns that pick. So Lamon owns himself and the Texas Boys picks. And yeah, so just going through it again, 7 through 12. Lamon is 7 with Mitch's pick. I'm 8 with Taint's. Cam is 9 with Beyondy's. Trevor is 10 with Cam's. Lamon is 11 with Trent's, and Trevor is 12 with Sean's. So Trevor has 2 picks, Lamon has 3, I have 3, and I think everyone else has 1. You have 1, Tom has 1, Cam has 1, and Danny has 1.
Yeah.
All right, so that leaves Beyondy, Taint, and Sean with none, and Mitch.
Correct.
All right. So draft is a long way away, but now that things were officially settled, just figured we would throw that out there. Just so everyone knows, Sean led the league in possible points by about 100 points over Trent. Sean had 1,900, almost 2,000 points possible over the year. So give or take about 600, 700 more than Danny. So
still not the 1 seed though.
We haven't gotten there yet. No one said he was a good manager. He's just good GM, I guess. He gets points on the board. All right, I think we're good on draft.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we can move on to last week's matchups and my death. I guess we could start with my game since it decided who made the playoffs and who didn't.
Good job, Beyondino.
Beyondy gets a nice win. As always, if you play me, you score points. So happy to get his guys some points. His quarterbacks were QB2 and QB4 on the week, and those are Jake Browning and Desmond Ridder. So great starts. To be honest, Beyondy mastered these starts. I don't think he had to be pretty close to his max points if he didn't get the max points he could get.
The bench, he also had Tommy DeVito put up 18.
I know.
Yeah. So and Trubisky put up 22.
Yep. Yeah, so Beyondy is the backup QB king, and all his backup QBs play well somehow, but love to see it. He did have a couple injuries last week. Nico Collins being hurt. I'm not sure. I assume he doesn't play this week. Not Biondi does have some depth in his lineup, so I don't think it's too big a deal for him. But he does have some injuries going into this week. My side,
Draymond just got suspended indefinitely.
you see, they say that, but like NBA indefinitely is like 4 games.
Yeah, that's interesting though. I was wearing my Draymond shirt the other day that you bought me.
Nice.
It's such a great shirt. Still one of the best Hall of Fame stories ever. On Biondi's side, the one thing he did miss up is the wide receivers. He left some wide receiver points on the bench, but it turned out okay. And I'll let you go through your own side.
Yeah, relatively down week, I guess, for me. I don't know. It wasn't that bad of a week. I scored 114, but obviously didn't have Kyler, so starting Derek Carr. I did almost not start Derek Carr. It started another running back, but I probably should have done that. But it seemed crazy to start Zeke at the same time. I had a feeling it might work out. Just he was going to get everything. So if I did that, I would have won. But coulda, shoulda, woulda. I don't think it was that bad a week. Just got beat by a better team. So
yeah, Biondi did a great job. I mean, you both put up a good amount of points. Sucks that kept you out of the playoffs, but I mean, it was a very good week. I wonder, where are you in points against? You have to be pretty. Are you first? No,
Danny's first because everyone plays him. But
Danny's first. You're behind. Oh no, you're second, and then it's Mitch and Sean. Anyway, we can move on. I think we'll do a little bit of fun because Taint lost, and that's always fun to talk about. Cam locks up the 1 seed, and that locks up a first round bye. This was the game that determined who was getting the first round bye for the Stony Brook division. Cam put up 105. Herbert's injury is huge. So tough for Taint to bounce back from that one. But, Tua's comes back into the starting lineup probably for him in the playoffs. But yeah, Cam had a good week, not like his best. Cook having 23 was huge. Evan Ingram went ham because apparently the Giants just don't know how to do anything with him. David Carr has now cursed Jalen Hurts, which is kind of fun. And is like totally buying into bothering the Philly fans with it, which I enjoy. I feel like that guy always got a bad rap. He had no chance in Houston. And he was a fun backup for the Giants for a little while. But anyway, Dak has looked pretty good recently. And, this is huge. You don't have to play Mitch, who is not a bad team. You avoid any type of upset. You avoid if Taint scores 85 again this week, his season's over, more than likely.
Yeah, I mean, the least amount of games you could play, the better. Like, it's fantasy football. Anyone could win any week. So it's just, if you could get a bye, it's just, that means you have to win 2 games to win the championship at that point. So it's just big for him overall. And then I believe we can move on to the other game where I think Trent Law, I think he would have been the 1 seed. No,
Sean, because Sean won.
Sean would have been the 1 seed. Yeah. Okay, so Trent didn't lose it, but the way it worked out, Mitch made the playoff. Mitch would have made the playoffs either way, but if I won and Biondi and Mitch lost, he would have missed the playoffs. So big win for Mitch. Will Levis seems like he's kind of coming together, which is nice. Obviously, losing Burrow sucked for Mitch. But yeah, looks like he's starting I don't know what he does moving forward. I don't know if Pickett plays, but
I mean, it looks like Mitch is going with the 1 QB lineups, which is fun. At least he did this week, and it worked out. Trent had a great week, but Mitch did enough to survive. He's the 6th seed. Um, Mitch was in pretty good shape because Biondi won. Mitch did what he needed to do. But yeah, great job by Mitch. Congratulations, Mitchell. I know it's his first year in the playoffs. That dude's like 7-7 every year in this league. I think it's his first year in the playoffs. I'm trying to remember. I know our first year, Stony Brook had like 5 guys in the playoffs, and we had 1, or maybe it was 4-2, and it's been pretty even ever since. This year we go 3-3. Cam is the 1, Sean is the 2, Taint the 3, Trent the 4, and then Biondi 5 and Mitch 6. So congratulations, all you playoff guys. Was it last year we did the interviews with them? Like we sent out the little Word document to them? Or was that 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago.
I think
It was 2 years ago. And then last year we had some of them come on the pod.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's talk about matchups.
Yeah. So the matchups for this week.
Sean and Cam have a bye, so we don't need to talk about them. Just so everyone knows, the playoffs reseed. So Sean is going to play the highest seed that wins, and Cam is going to play the lowest seed that wins. So theoretically, Taint as the 3 seed wins, and Trent as the 4. It's normal. 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. Sean will play Taint. If Mitch wins and Trent wins, then Trent will play Sean and Mitch will play Cam. So we've just always had it with the reseed. It's kind of fun. It throws some variables in there, but it gives Cam the advantage of having the lowest seed play him every year. He's earned that through the season. That being said, do we talk 3-6? Taint versus Mitch?
Sure.
Cool.
All right. So the 3 versus 6. I have to pull it up.
Yeah. So Taint right now is going Tua and Purdy, which I think makes sense. Mitch is only going 1 QB, and it's only Will Levis, so big advantage QB-wise to Taint. Williams and Gibbs versus Pollard and A-Chain. Again, kind of huge advantage to Taint, I think, there. I mean, Williams has been very good recently.
I think this is Kyron Williams hate, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what I have with him, but that man scores fantasy points. He's probably like
I said it was advantage to Taint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, this is a major advantage for Taint.
I heard Mitch. I don't know why.
If I said Mitch, I'm sorry. I meant Taint. No, I thought Williams and Gibbs, I think, is a big advantage over Pollard and A-Chain. Wide receiver, I actually think the other way. I think Mitch has the advantage with A.J. Brown and Debo over Jamar and Pittman. Debo put up a huge game last week. If he can do the same, he may neutralize Purdy a little bit if Purdy's touchdowns are to Debo, or maybe Debo gets a weird running touchdown, whatever it is. Debo scores weirdly a bunch. So I think wide receiver, you also hope Jamar continues to play well with Browning. He's got some injury concerns. And how Browning's been great. I'm not trying to hate on Browning, but how much do you trust him going forward to keep your wide receiver 1 in good shape? Tight end, Njoku versus Taysom Hill right now. I mean, he could play Thomas, but right now, Taysom Hill. I don't know how you feel about that one. You're a Taysom Hill guy.
Again, Taysom Hill scores fantasy points. So Taysom Hill, the last few weeks he started, he had 14, 21, 18, 3, 7, and 14.
He is tight end like 10.
And he's missed like 2 or 3 games. So He
Yeah.
scores points. Weird player. I guess you have a big wrist day, just doesn't do anything. But I don't think Njoku's anything that's too amazing anyway. Having Flacco's kind of nice. He likes to keep things short for the most part, so I'm sure he'll get a few catches at the very least. Moving on to the flex, Rashad White versus Spears.
I think White is a huge upgrade on Spears. I mean, White's like RB 4 or 5 this year, if I'm not mistaken. White's been great. White continues to be great. He gets into the end zone. I like Spears. Spears is a guy I tried to take from Taint. I just think playoff wise and like how things are going right now, White in Green Bay this week is probably a play over Spears. But when you go super flex and it's Hopkins versus Purdy, that's a little tough for Mitch. At the same time, maybe Will Levis throws 2 touchdowns to Hopkins, and all of a sudden both of them get a whole bunch of points from it. At the same time, maybe Will Levis throws 0 touchdowns and Hopkins gets screwed. Maybe you think about a Cortland Sutton in that place. Maybe you go Hopkins all day.
I would definitely go Hopkins. There's no way I'd start Sutton over Hopkins.
Really? I mean, Sutton's had a good year.
Sutton's had a good year because somehow he's like caught a touchdown each week. I feel like,
It's
yeah,
I mean,
but obviously that helps. But I just don't know how much you can trust that at the same time. He does play Detroit. Detroit's awful on defense again. So maybe you go that way. Right now he's benching Kincaid for
Njoku. Yeah, I saw that too. That one was an interesting one. I mean, I don't necessarily blame him. Although with Flacco there, like I like Flacco to tight ends, but do I trust Flacco to put points on the board and maybe Njoku gets a touchdown? Mitch, I think much more than Taint has like questions. Mitch has some things to figure out.
Mitch just has more depth. I mean, he has Connor on the bench. That's someone you could start any given week. So, yeah, I don't know how that'll work out. I mean, it looks like A-Chain might miss, so it might end up being Connor at the end of the day. But Mitch has a few decisions to make. I think the way Taint structures his roster, there's not really many decisions that are going to go on that side. This is pretty much how it's set. Obviously, Chase is a little scary with the injury, but again, he may just score 2 touchdowns and it may not even matter at all. So, yeah, losing Herbert hurts. But at the end of the day, I feel like I just trust Taint's running backs a lot. Maybe that's a mistake on my end. Maybe it's not. But I think he's gonna pull this one out. I just feel like Debo's in a groove, but it also kind of hurts having Purdy on the other side because he takes some of those points, assuming it's a passing touchdown.
Yeah. Which with Debo is like not as big an assumption as like any other receiver in the league.
Definitely.
But, I think it's close. The reason that I am going Taint is the 2 QBs. And Mitch, I mean, I'm pulling for Mitch just in the sense because Mitch is so happy he made the playoffs and was losing his mind when he did. So I'm really pulling for Mitch. This is one of his like 42 fantasy leagues that he's in. So it's nice to see he cares about this one. Because he really is in like 12. And I don't understand how he does it. And he knows like his lineups in them too, which is insane. But yeah, I'm gonna go for Mitch just more so because I think he's gonna pull out some craziness. I think he's got some higher upside guys between Debo, Chase's injury scares me. Maybe Taysom Hill pulls out at 0 points, and who knows? Will Levis to Hopkins looks good, and Mitch scored 100 and whatever last week, and Taint scored 85. So that's where I'm going with, and I think Spears is actually probably a really big negative in this game for Taint. As much as I like Spears as like a player, I just fantasy this week he's not my guy. But yeah, moving on to
All
the
right.
4-5
That's
game.
the other matchup.
Korea.
QB matchup this week is apparently Biondi starting one QB again this week.
Yeah, I'm starting to.
Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. Okay, so he's going Ritter and Browning again. As weird as it may sound, I might go Trubisky over Ritter.
The only reason I'm disagreeing on that is Ritter gets Carolina this week.
Carolina's like top 5 against QBs this year, but
I mean, but they allow so many points. I feel like there's just so much potential point against Carolina that I have faith. I know Indy's kind of similar. So, but Ritter also lit up Tampa Bay for 30 fantasy points last week. I don't know. You don't just go Tommy DeVito and say New York, do it for me.
New York. Yeah,
He's
I think
home.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. These 4 backup QBs, I don't feel that bad for Biondi, but like he made the playoffs. But at the end of the day, it's just like, what the hell? Like I don't know. I'd be having an aneurysm trying to figure out what the hell to do with these guys. But I think one of those bench guys might sneak in, but maybe not. And maybe this is his lineup. I'm sure he'll go back and forth throughout the week. Biondi's been pretty bad for a little while, so I'm sure he's happy to be competing.
Is he a tinkerer? Is he a lineup tinkerer?
I don't think so.
He doesn't come across as a lineup tinkerer. Biondi kind of feels like a guy who sets that crap on like Tuesday. And he's like, this is it, unless there's an injury or something like that. He's like, I got my boys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
QB advantage definitely goes to Trent, though. Josh Allen and Stafford starting this week for Trent. Stafford's in Washington, which is not great for Biondi. Josh Allen is in Dallas, and Dallas is pretty decent against the QB this year, but still Josh Allen. Big advantage for Trent in the QB department, which maybe comes out to be false because Biondi put up a 50 spot as QBs on you this week, so maybe I'm just a liar.
But he's not playing me, so no guarantee he scores 50 from those QBs again. I actually like the Dallas matchup for Josh Allen. Generally, it's a bad matchup, but when I have really good quarterbacks, I kind of like when they play good teams because I know they're not just going to run away with the game. Given Buffalo's a weird team where, like, when they run away with the game, they're like, we're still going to run Josh Allen on the goal line. Why not? But
dude, he worries me. He's like Cam Newton level of worry. Like that dude needs to slide. He needs to get out of bounds. It gives me a heart attack every time he runs. I can't do it. These QBs that run scare me so much. Please slide. Slide. I hate it. It scares me. You're too important.
yeah, but I think we can move on to running back now. I think this is a relatively close matchup. I'm out, so I haven't paid much attention, but I think Pacheco probably out this week again.
I thought he was out for this week.
Okay. So that might make things a little tough. Trent doesn't have the most RB depth. He has Antonio Gibson, Foreman, Kareem Hunt. They're guys. They're just not guys you'd be super excited throwing in there. So maybe that second slot's a big weakness. Kamara's apparently back and putting up.
But even if Pacheco plays, I think that Trent has a weaker running back group. Kamara and Bijan versus Pacheco and Jacobs. I mean, I think you go Bijan and Kamara in that situation. Kamara's playing the Giants in MetLife, I think. Oh no, it's at home. So, who knows what that game's going to look like. I think the real question mark is the wide receiver for these guys, because is Tyreek going to be full strength against the Jets? And then is Olave and Devontae, like, how are they? I know Devontae just looks miserable to me, a Raider at this point. So who knows if he even wants to step on the field. You know, Tyreek went off against the Jets that was like 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? 3 weeks ago?
Mm.
He had, I don't know, he had over 100 yards and a touchdown, which I guess for him is just normal. But if he doesn't play, then you're looking at Kupp and Ayuk, I guess, which is fine. But then I don't know what you do at the flex where Kupp is.
I'm not too worried about his side. He's got Terry on the bench. He's got Godwin on the bench.
Mm.
He's got guys he could throw in there. I'm more worried on Beyondy's side if either of those guys don't play. It's a short week for the Raiders, so that scares me a little bit. If they do play, I think this is a relatively even matchup. I think Olave Ayuk's relatively the same, and I think Hill's probably hobbled at the least at this point. I could see Olave. He missed practice though. I don't know. Beyond these guys might be hurt too. I might just be in a little bit of trouble. He doesn't have much on the bench right now. He's got Gabe Davis. I think Nico
He's
misses.
got to start. Yeah, I don't think Nico's playing. We talked about that earlier. I mean, it looks like it's a Gabe Davis start if one of the guys are missing. And his only other option really then is Wan'Dale Robinson, who I think had a good week last week, but playoff starting is not necessarily what you want to do with him. Yeah, really, really interesting. Tight end battle is really interesting with Hawkinson versus Laporta. That may be like the X factor if this is a close game, like which tight end gets into the end zone.
Team Iowa.
Then the worst offense in college football, by the way, which is crazy. Did you see when they were playing Michigan in the Big Ten title game? The over-under for their first half points were 0.5 for first half points, and like people were slamming the under. Slamming the
tight ends though.
They also scored 0 points in the entire game.
Oh, God.
People slammed the under, and all they needed to do was score 1 point.
I like it.
And people won money on it, by the way. But anyway, flex, you got Mixon versus Cooper Kupp. That's a really fun one. Kupp and Stafford together for Trent is kind of interesting. Mixon and Browning, do they take points away from each other?
Ooh. Against Washington too, that Kupp Stafford stack might make things ugly.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Beyondy ends up Kenneth Walker getting in there somehow, as well, but I guess not. I guess he is like RB4 for them.
So this is bad fantasy logic, but sometimes I like having a guy on Monday so I can at least at the end of the week be like, hey, if he drops 40, I might win this game.
Well, we understand why Jake didn't go to the playoffs this year. Jake was like, man, do I start CeeDee Lamb or this guy who's a fifth string plays on Monday and he can drop 40 and I'll win.
So yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but overall, it's really hard to give you a good opinion on this game this week. Just like there's like 5 questionable people on each team. So I don't know who's going to end up playing. And for that reason, I'm still going to go Trent.
Yeah, Beyondy's injuries scare me more, which is why I'm going Trent. Beyondy's wide receiver injuries scare the crap out of me because I don't think either one of them practiced today.
No, neither practiced.
Well, like neither did Pacheco, but I think Pacheco's out. Like I think that can be filled. I feel like fine with Gibson getting in there. I don't feel great, but I feel like okay. But it's a good one. If you're correct on your picks, then next week it'll be Cam versus Trent, and Sean versus Taint. If I'm correct, it'll be Cam versus Mitch and Sean versus Trent. So that'll be really interesting. Cam would be the sole surviving Stony Brook in mine, while you would still have 2 and 2. You went with the higher seeds to win both games.
Yep. So good luck, high seeds. I'm rooting for you. Actually,
But yeah,
I'm not really rooting for you, Trent, but Biondi's my boy, so sorry. And you stole all those players from me for a guy that played like a game and a half on my team, so.
I mean, I'm rooting for Team Trent. I love Texas. It is a wonderful place. Absolutely my favorite. No bad words to say about the state of Texas. It's awful, man. So bad. But anyway, it was nice to be back here for the podcast. I think we handled everything we needed to handle. Mitch, if you need lineup help, let me know. We'll be around. I'll fix it for you because I'm really good at this fantasy football stuff. And yeah, good luck to all you playoff teams, and I hope everyone else who's not in the playoffs is really sad.
All right. Good luck, guys.